Hey everyone, this is Lisa from Life in Layouts, and today I pulled out this collection from close to my heart called In This Together. I also pulled out the Simply Sketches 22-page sketches using only 4x6 photos, and I'm going to be using sketch number 14. This layout comes together super quickly because it does really focus on the photos themselves. During the year of 2020, I thought that it would be really cool to document some of the shows that I binge watched while I was at home. There wasn't much else to do, and I thought it would be a great time to find new to me shows. So I reached out to others and asked them what their binge-worthy shows were, and I found quite a few of them. All of these are screenshots, and because some of them are supposed to be images that you would use as a promo, they weren't really 4x6 and I couldn't really cut them down. Walgreens does have a feature where you can print the entire photo and it will print a white border around the edge, which is what I did for a majority of the photos. And I knew that it would work well with this sketch because it calls for 4x6 photos, but since I had the white border on all of them, I just cut them down to all the same size at the bottom. So the photos at the bottom are 3x6. All of these are shows except for the movie Bad Boys, but I did watch all of the Bad Boys. I just didn't feel like printing out multiple photos of it. But I will tell you that I fell in love with all of these shows. Broadchurch was an amazing show. If you haven't seen it, David Tennant is amazing in it. And it is only 3 seasons, so it's a pretty easy watch. Little Fires Everywhere is actually not really a show. It's one of those like mini series. I think there's only like 10 or 15 episodes, but it's also really good. It's based on a book. I actually read the book and then watched the show, which I thought was really great. Hulu did a great job of adapting the book to the TV shows. I really like when the TV shows are turned into like mini series because I feel like you really can't capture it in 2 hours. And so it's more like 10 hours. And I think that that's a perfect timing. I did decide to bring in the 1/4" strip because you guys know that I love that. The sketch does call for it on the top and bottom. I really thought about bringing in the softer color palette of this collection because these photos were such a bright jewel tone, and I thought that it offset really well having the lighter colors. I picked up this collection, I think back in 2021 when it first came out, because it was very different than the other quarantine collections that were out there. I really liked the soft color palette that came with this collection, and I still have a ton of photos that I plan to document for that time. I took a lot of screenshots. There were so many different things going on, and I was a single person at that time. It was before Eli moved in with me, so I didn't have a whole lot going on in my life. I was home alone by myself, and so taking screenshots and scrolling the internet was kind of how I passed the time, along with all of these great new shows that I watched. For the right hand side of the layout, it calls for this larger piece, and I pulled in this purple heart paper, but I cover up a majority of it. The sketch actually calls for another 4x6 photo, but I had a 6x4 photo, so this photo does take up a lot of the space. And I think that that plays into covering up a majority of this purple paper. I now have the bones of the layout completed. I did decide to go ahead and mount this photo of Sweet Magnolias. I think this is probably my favorite show from that time, and it's one of those Netflix shows that when the new season comes out, I rewatch all of them. I just rewatched the entire season a couple months ago when the new season came out. It's so good. I love those like cheesy type shows. Sweet Magnolias and Virgin River are both on Netflix, and I love them both so much. The sketch also calls for 3 banners over on the far right hand side, so I pulled out this floral as well as the yellow paper and then this white paper. It's really hard to tell, but there are some really soft polka dots on that white paper. I did trim down 2 of them and then used my banner punch from Stampin' Up! To have a banner on both sides. I highly recommend this banner punch if you are wanting to put banners on anything on your layouts. It makes it super easy to add the banners, and I use it so much. I believe it's retired, but you can absolutely pick it up on eBay or other secondhand stores. I also decided to add this sticker down that has all of the colors on it. And I love the fact that this sticker is actually 12 inches, so I didn't have to trim it down in the center and cover it up. That was a nice change. So even though Close to My Heart's no longer in business, way to go for them. I did decide to go ahead and add some fun foam to the back of this photo simply because it was going to get lost with all of that pattern paper on the right. I did pull out my stitching tools. I have all of those linked below. I love this Tim Holtz ruler. It has like a rubber grip on the back of it, so it helps to prevent the ruler from slipping when you're poking your holes. I did pick that up at scrapbook.com, and then my other stitching tools mainly come from Amazon. I also have a link for them below. I decided that I would bring out the yellow for the tone on tone, but then I used some green on that floral paper, and I'm going to use this really light orange on the polka dots. I feel like that's going to bring out the orange that's around the layout. I did go off camera to do my stitching, and I slowed the video down here so that you can see it. I really like the touch of purple on the top and bottom of the layout. I don't do a lot of embellishment on this layout. Over on the right hand side, I am going to add the title Stay Home and Binge Flick. I think that is a great title for this because that's exactly what I did during this time of our lives. I stayed home and I watched a ton of new shows. I know that this is a little bit different, especially since it was quarantine time, but I also feel like things like this need to be documented simply because this is a part of our lives. Regardless of whether it's quarantine or not, having shows that we watch documented is also kind of important. I have a layout that I had done back around Valentine's Day with Nicole. We both did our like binge-worthy shows. Those are those shows that we watch maybe when we're scrapbooking or just when we need to have something in the background that we consider our comfort shows. And I think that that's important too, to document just this time in our lives. I even look back and think about the show Wayward Pines. I remember watching it and being very intrigued by the show during that time, but I couldn't tell you the details of that show now, and to the point that I almost kind of want to binge watch it again. It was also another one that didn't last very long. It had a couple of seasons, but I thought that it was such a good show. I did end up adding a few little embellishments. Over on the left, I added a little book that said The Great Social Distancing. And then over on the right, I added some florals as well as a tag that says Social Distant Champ. I then added some enamel hearts around the layout just to add a little bit of extra touch. And that is it for this video. Here is my final layout as well as some close-ups. I did do my journaling offline and I added it to some vellum and added it on the right-hand side of the layout. It says, in 2020, staying home wasn't encouraged, it was essential. So I did my part. I stayed on the couch and powered through more TV shows than I ever thought possible. With nowhere to go and plenty of time to fill, I dove into series that were new to me, one binge-worthy episode at a time. It might not have been glamorous, but it helped pass the time, brought a bit of comfort, and gave me something to look forward to during a very uncertain season. Alright, if you enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layout inspiration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.